Hey, Sam at Relove Guitars. This is a very quick video just to give you a quick view on how to take off the neck on one of these Oakcasters. This one happens to have a 2-bolt neck. Some of them have 4, some of them have 1. In fact, I'll show you one that has 1 right now. It's in production. This is number 9. Number 9. That's a mosquito of some sort. Go away. And this one just has 1, so that gets even simpler. If you think about it, the point of bolt holding the neck on, when the guitar's strung, most of the force is going that way, between the bridge and the nut, or bridge and the tuners if you like. It's pulling, the strings are under tension, so there's compression on the neck. The only reason it wants to flip up is because, given nowhere it can go, it's going to convert that sort of compression force into a turning force. Come on, little mosquito. So the fact that very often if you have your Strat or something and you take and bolt the neck, it's going to want to flip the neck up. But bear in mind that the majority of the force is horizontal or longitudinal as a compression. So what it means is that, first of all, if the neck pocket is really snug, which it is on these guitars, chances are you can string this guitar and play it without having the bolts in the tool. We'll come back to that. The bolts therefore are on a guitar where this is well fitting. The bolts are really to stop the thing converting that longitudinal force into a pull to lift the neck up. Now in this case I want to take the neck off to put a small shim under there, just to raise it up slightly to give myself a bit more what's the word I'm looking for? A little bit more action adjustment than it's currently got. So I'm going to use a little copper slug for that. I like to use metal pieces, and they only have to be a couple of millimeters, 2 or 3, 4 millimeters wide, and this one is I think about 0.7 millimeters thick, so it's quite a good slug for this guitar. You know, you can, if you want to cut them from scratch, you can cut them so that they run all the way across, or you can use a single shorter piece. It doesn't really matter, as long as it lifts the guitar neck the way you need it to lift. Okay, so if you're on holiday and taking your guitar apart, you get your Allen key. These are M8 nuts, bolts, M8 bolts, and so I would slack off one and then slack off the other, which is really quite nicely done up. And so the two of them, as you can feel, come out easily. I'm not sure if I put any grease on these, but on the recent ones I have. It seems to have really just helped the process. So there's a washer in there too, but that's probably going to stay in there, which is cool. So here come the two. Washer comes out on that one. I'll leave it in there. It wants to stay in there on that one. So there we have the bolt out, and if you notice, the neck is going nowhere. Okay, it's a beautiful fit. So let's just for fun, let's get a tune off this, or a note off this amplifier. Play. Oh, it's a left-handed back to front. I forget where the bloody tuning keys are on this. So, it's not very well done, but let's do it one more time. Picked a weird one to do because it's back to front. Keys aren't what I expect. So this, Steve, this one's for you. No bolts, guitar tuned. neck stable, everything exactly where it was. Oakcasters for you. See, that's the beauty of a nice solid well-fitting neck pocket. So in theory you could play this guitar as is. God, you know, it's like some sort of patent applied for. You just plug in the neck, string it up, and away you go. You don't even have to bolt it. I thought it was quite funny anyway. So there we have it. So anyway, I do want to take the neck off, so it doesn't end up kind of pulling too much that way as I take it off. I am going to take off some of the string load. Mosquito territory in here. I've got a big bright warm light there, which is probably why. But anyway, so there we go. So here we have taking the neck bit off. Blimey. That is really stiff. You can hear that why is that so stiff? Anyway, it was, but it was kind of stuck in. I think there was, I put a tiny bit of resin in to flatten out the side previously, so it was well stuck there. Anyway, having done that, I put in my little shim. Actually, you know what? Just to be precise, I'm going to cut a fraction bigger shim, and this is actually 1mm thick. Is that a bit too much? Yeah, it is really. Give me my copper. That's the big stuff. That's the thinner stuff. That's the biggest stuff. Bigger, thinner, bigger. This is a millimetre. That's chunky. That's very chunky. Millimetre. Oh, let's just do this. Right. So, sorry. Piece of copper. I'm going to cut me a 4mm or 5mm, something like that. Doesn't have to be precise. Hand judged by eye. There we have it. Curly bit of thing. If you really want to make sure it's a bit flat first, you can crunch it in your vise. It doesn't matter what it looks like when it goes into the neck. It's just got to be a nice solid piece of material, and ideally a bit flat. So a bit of a squeeze in the vise doesn't hurt. Flatten it out. Check it for width. That's cool. Doesn't need to do anything else. That's quite a big shim, so I'm going to push it close to the end of the back of the pocket. The further it goes to the back, the higher the shim will be, or something. So you can see with this guitar straight away that taking off the neck took off the bridge, because that's what these bridges do. And I'm going to now reposition. I might as well just get these strings actually, broadly speaking, where they're supposed to be, which is quite nice because you can. Are they in the right place? No, they're crossed over. Once you do this, you can leave it dangle, right? So there you go. Before you even press it down, you can say, is everything where I want it to be? The important bit to preserve intonation is that the neck is fully in, right towards the back part of the pocket, right? So that's the main thing, is just lower it in there. I wouldn't recommend necessarily doing this with strings on, because if you're taking this kind of guitar on holiday, I would recommend you put some new strings on when you get there, but you still want to put the neck on. So we pretend the strings aren't on. Same thing applies. Put it to the back of the pocket, press it in to the back of the pocket, and then press it down towards the front. So what we've got, it's moving a bit now because it's sitting on a shim for the first time. So what we've got is a neck with a bit more of an angle in it this time. So I'm going to just tap in my two. Oh, well, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a little bit of grease on these while I'm at it, since I've done it with other guitars. This is a little grease pot I rescued from my motorcycle maintenance days, and it was grease from a grease gun, and I sort of emptied it out and salvaged the grease. Don't use the grease gun anymore. Don't have any real need for it. But so just a little bit of grease there. Neck firmly in its pocket, and so with our hex key, I just tap in a bit to begin with, just to get a bite on it, and the same with this one here. And you just want to feel that they're going in. Now, it will slightly alter the geometry now, because this neck was, well, the holes, if you like, were cut when based on just the angle in the neck pocket. So we've slightly changed that due to the shim, which means these screws will go in. They're just a little snugger than they were the time before. But you can see, without too much ado, they're in, and you can hear them pulling the neck nicely into position. And there we have it. We don't really need much more than that. Now what it's done is it's brought the neck up much higher, so we've got quite a bit more action. We probably didn't need that much of a shim, but this is a sort of test guitar anyway, so I'm kind of, I have the luxury of being able to set extra stuff. What I will do is I'll get a big chunky screwdriver to now reset the action to where I want it. So what I didn't have before was I didn't have enough action. So this shim has brought the neck up to meet the strings, which gives me back now more room to adjust down at the bridge. So counterclockwise lifts the bridge higher. I'll do it a little bit at a time so that this is kind of an equal amount going up either side. You know, big screwdriver, as big as possible, is really good for making sure that you don't kind of mess up the slots on here. It's very easy to do with a smaller screwdriver bit. Okay, so I'm just going to, these are very loose, so I'm just going to hold them while I sort of retighten them a bit so they bite, otherwise the strings will just slip off the tuner. Yeah, they're a bit cheap, those tuners, so that's going to go in the bin. Now this guitar, this prototype, if you like, at the moment has so far not had any fret leveling or anything, so it's kind of as put together. So I wouldn't be surprised if it still needs a bit, but we never know. Well, actually, it's not quite true. I did fret level this neck when I was going to use it on Dylan's Tele way back when, but since then I haven't used it on anything, so the leveling then may not be totally relevant to this configuration now, although it will be more level than not doing it, it's obvious. No, I don't like those tuners, too much slack. Okay, so the purpose of this little shimming operation was to just quickly give me back the action I wanted, which is now much nicer because we've raised the bridge a little bit to give us the action we wanted. Again, it's not perfect, that's too low still, but it gives us more control. Just looking down here, make sure this is it on? Yeah, it's on straight. I guess what we're seeing is a little bit of curvature of the body on this one, because it was a sort of bit of a hand designed one. So I'll just add a bit more height to this, and we just go until we've got the action we want. Anyway, the point is not to do that precisely, just a second. But there you go, that was a neck on and off on an Oakcaster with a little bit of a shim added onto this one, which is, as I said, a prototype. But the point being is it's simple as that. I will do another one featuring the other Oakcasters, so it's more relevant to them, but this is just a quickie for now, and as much as anything to show you, actually, if you get the pocket snug, you technically you don't even need to bolt the neck in. It's just to hold the neck from twisting around in that turning movement, but you can see as long as this is solid and snug, it won't move at all. But of course it helps that this is a granite-like material. A softer wood, like I don't know, a pine body or something like that, could quite quickly squish and squash to become looser. But this solid oak meeting maple is likely to stay snug for a lot longer. Okay.